Hi everyone, my name is Robert. I got together my co-presenter.
John Mutunji.
John Mutunji is his name. Students at the University of the West Indies Mona campus in the Faculty of Humanities and Education. The course is Philosophy 1002 Ethics and Applied Ethics. And our lecturer is Miss Kimaja Cornell. This is a 4-episode video aiming to summarize what we have learned throughout this course and how we can apply them in our day-to-day lives and arrive at moral standards. To do this, we will briefly define ethics, talk about the 4 branches of ethics by choosing one inspiring subtopic in each branch to see how they connect each other to form a moral judgment and help us know our relationship and responsibility towards the environment in order to achieve the ethical goal, which is to determine the right and wrong. Consequently, we will make a general conclusion to sum up the ideas discussed in the 4 episodes.
In the first place, let us see what is ethics. At the simplest, ethics is a system of moral principles. They affect how people make decisions and lead their lives. Ethics is concerned with what is good for individuals and society, and it's also described as a moral philosophy. Ethics is what guides us to tell the truth, keep our promises, or help someone in need. There is a framework of ethics underlying our lives on a daily basis, helping us to make decisions that create positive impacts and steering us away from unjust outcomes. And ethics is made up of 4 branches: descriptive ethics, meta-ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. Now we look at African ethics, which lies under descriptive ethics. African ethics is thus character-based ethics that maintains that the quality of individual's character is most fundamental in our moral life. Good character is the sense of the African moral system and the linchpin of the moral wheel. The justification for character-based ethics is not far to seek. In other words, under this theory, we describe human nature concerning satisfying social relations and attitudes that will maintain or bring about harmony in society. Society is composed of individuals. Therefore, to understand this, we need to look at personal ethics. Personal ethics refers to a person's belief about what is right or wrong and guides individuals in the way they make decisions both out of workplace and within the workplaces. Your unique ethics will determine how you handle certain situations at work as well as how you grow and develop within your career. According to the Western tradition, the fundamental ethics principles entails beneficence, which is about doing good to others, non-maleficence, which prescribes the avoidance of causing harm to others, respect for autonomy, which advocates respect for rights, dignity, and responsibility, justice, and fairness. What are the African moral values? In traditional Africa, shared morality was the cement of society. It is clear the agreement in the following list of traditional values mentioned by different authors, such as charity, honesty, generosity, loyalty, truthfulness, solidarity, even respect for elders and God. However, African morality is not necessarily based on religion or faith, but on the beneficiary value of collective family and community well-being without dissolving the individual's character. To make remarks of African ethics, African ethics advising the subject with the question, where are Africa ethics, a kind of an interesting area, because when we consider what we have been studying, we find that there is a strong influence of objectivity. There are absolutes that have to be found, but yet in African ethics, we start to make a shift or movement towards more subjective viewpoint. And so in many ways, it's kind of transitional period. When people look to African ethics, one of the things that they recognize is that, like in many traditions, there is a basic religious value or belief that many people believe that moral action is just simply to avoid offending God. But Kwesi makes the argument that it is not actually the case, and makes a strong case for a more subjective viewpoint within ethics.
This is episode 2 where we will look about moral sentimentalism. Moral sentimentalism is typified in the theories of 18th century philosophers Shaftesbury, Hudson, and Hume. And it is one of the theories of metaethics which has its central thesis that our moral distinctions depend on our experiencing sentiments or feelings. We do not rely exclusively on the employment of reason to make our moral discernment. According to the emotivists, when we say you acted wrongly in stealing that money, we are not expressing any fact beyond that stated by you stole that money. It is, however, as if we stated this fact with a special tone of abhorrence. For in saying that something is wrong, we are expressing our feelings of disapproval toward it. In other words, is the state or quality of being sentimental, expressing, appealing to, or being moved by sensitive or tender emotions such as love, nostalgia, or pity, how we feel. The basic idea of sentimentalism is that morality is rooted in emotion, in its uncompromising form. It says that moral metaphysics, moral thought, and moral epistemology are all somehow emotion-based. Moral sentimentalism contrasts importantly with moral rationalism, according to which the foundation of morality is to be found in the human capacity for a reason, not on feelings alone, because these feelings sometimes can lie. For example, if I feel pity for the beggar in the street who is begging, I will give him some coins and so on, maybe just to help him with his life. However, if I don't have the feelings of pity for the beggar, sorry for you today, you will go hungry, I'll not be able to give you anything, because it's how I feel to help you or not to help you. And this sentimentalism is good in a way that it makes somebody to act immediately, like it impels somebody to help immediately. However, it has also its dark sides. What if the person is helping those in need out of selfish reasons? For example, just to manipulate them. Not only that, what if maybe the person just doing it just for his own selfish reasons and so on, But according to him's observation, we are selfish and human. We possess greed, and also we are limited in generosity. We talked a lot of things, but to sum up, sentimentalism is a name for a wide class of views in value theory. Sentimentalist views are unified by their commitment to the idea that normative or evaluative properties or concepts are best explained in a way that relies, in some fundamental way, on an appeal to the emotional and affective nature of human beings. Moral sentimentalism is simply sentimentalism that restricts its focus to the moral properties or concepts. Moral sentimentalism contrasts importantly with the moral rationalism, according to which the foundation of morality is to be found in the human capacity for reason. There are different principles on which to draw in moral reasoning about specific environmental problems. Let us see the three basic pairs of of principles in sentimentalism. 1. Justice and sustainability, sufficiency and compassion, solidarity and participation. Let us see them one by one. Justice and sustainability. The classic formal principle of justice is that equals should be treated equally, unless there is a sufficient reason to treat the other person unequally. It is clearly relevant in the field of ethics called environmental justice, but this principle cuts across many issues. Environmental justice is concerned with the inequitable access to environmental resources such as clean food, air, and water, and the injustice of greater pollution that often characterize lower income communities, not wealthy suburbs. Sufficiency and compassion. The principle of sufficiency mandates that all forms of life are entitled to enough goods to live on and flourish. This principle also means no one should waste or hoard resources intended for the sufficiency of all. Upholding the norm of sufficiency makes demands upon individuals to share, to live more simply, to think creatively, and on human communities, to ensure that everyone has access to goods that they need to live a life of dignity. The ethical norm of sufficiency is closely tied to the notion of moral significance, which means that something is worthy of our ethical concern. Let us look at solidarity and participation. The principle of solidarity invites us to consider how we relate to each other in the community. It assumes that we recognize that we are part of at least one family, our biological family, our local community. In a globalizing economy, we participate in a vast international economic community, one in which goods and services are provided for us by those on the other side of the world. Solidarity requires us to consider this kind of extended community and to act in such a way that reflects concern for the well-being of others.
Welcome to our third episode, which is about deontology. Deontology is a normative ethical theory developed by Immanuel Kant that uses rule to distinguish right from wrong. Kant believed that ethical actions follow universal moral rules such as do not lie, do not steal, do not cheat. In other words, deontologists are more concerned with what people do, not with the consequence of their actions. Do right things. Do it because it is the right thing to do. Do not do wrong things. Avoid them because they are wrong. Deontology holds on that actions are right or wrong in themselves, regardless of their consequences. For instance, people have the obligation to tell the truth, even if doing so might produce an unsuitable result. In other words, Kant, like us, believed telling the truth is always the right in itself, even if again doing so might produce some unfavorable results. Hence, telling a lie, on the contrary, is always wrong for deontological ethics. For instance, take a scenario where a physician that has just discovered that her patient is having a stage 4 breast cancer. However, the physician cannot reveal the truth to her patient right away because the patient is also having a cardiac condition. If we are to consider the consequences of the act of telling the truth to the patient, she may have a sudden cardiac arrest and eventually die. Now, from the consequential point of view, it is better to tell a lie to the patient instead of revealing the truth to avoid sudden death. On the part of the patient, from the view of deontology ethics, telling the patient about her real condition is the right thing to do, even if doing so might result into cardiac arrest. Therefore, we make moral decisions. We have to consider first which actions are right and wrong. and proceed from there. And if an action is right in itself, then you have the duty or the moral obligation to act in it. But if the action is wrong in itself, then we are under moral obligation to act accordingly. The strength of the deontology, or we call them the advantages, say, unlike consequentialism, which judges actions by their results, deontology does not require weighing the cost and benefits of the situation. This avoids subjectivity and uncertainty because you only have to follow the rules, simply. Deontologists live in a world of moral rules. It is wrong to steal, it is right to keep promises. Deontology is also concerned with intentions. If you intend good through your action, then action is good, no matter what happens as a result. I can say also deontology promotes human rights. How? Yes, if you keep the law will keep you. How? If the rule says do not kill, even me, I have the right not to be killed. So whoever kills me also will violate the law. Then the weaknesses of deontology, as Kant describes, and also as I contribute, say lack of concern for consequences can sometimes be terrible. There's no flexibility. Deontology leaves the individual with no chance to consider the circumstances or the consequences of an action. Automatically, we seem to accept that certain rules have sensible expectation. For instance, we need to tell a lie to save lives. Also, the deontology is too fixed that it does not allow any dialogue. Like, for instance, a policeman who's standing on the road, his duty is to keep the law, that everybody coming across the traffic lights, when he's late, he has to stop. Now, for instance, somebody carrying a patient, the policeman will not give an ear to listen that since he's carrying a patient, let him proceed. No, he will hold that he has to fulfill his duty. The deontological system holds that the moral worth of an action lies in your conforming to duties and rules, as opposed to considering consequences of what you do. In other words, the principle of deontology is that you really have to conform to your moral duties regardless of the reason you have. The deontological system holds that you have to fulfill your rules. To make our remarks of deontology, the deontology is a straightforward theory that is also inclusive, contradicting the world's mentality of favoring the majority where the minority suffer. Because practically speaking, it is not that always the majority are always right. One person can be right and the 10 are wrong. For deontology, wrong is wrong and right is right, no matter whoever does it. Therefore, doing the right thing will make us live a perfect life. Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect, as quoted from Matthew 5:48.
Environmental ethics. Environmental ethics is the branch of ethics that studies the relationship between human beings and the environment and how ethics plays a role in this. Environmental ethicists believe that humans are a part of society as well as other living creatures, which includes plants and animals. These items are a very important part of the world and are considered to be a functional part of human life. Therefore, it is essential that every human being respect and honor these and use morals and ethics when dealing with these creatures. For example, global warming, climate change, deforestation, pollution, resource degradation, the threat of extinction are a few of the issues from which our planet is suffering. Environmental ethicists are a key feature of environmental studies that establishes the relationship between humans and the earth. With environmental ethics, we can assure you that doing your part in trying to preserve these things. For example, every time a tree that is cut down to make a home or other resources are used, we are using natural resources that are becoming more and more sparse to find. it is essential that you do your part to keep the environment protected and free from danger. It is not as difficult as you may think, so long as you are willing to make a few simple and easy changes. With the rapid increase in the world's population, the consumption of natural resources has increased several times. This has degraded our planet's ability to provide the services we human beings need. The consumption of resources is going at a faster rate than they can naturally replenish. Environmental ethicists build on scientific understanding by bringing human values, moral principles, and improved decision-making into conservation with science. It was at the 1970 that helped to develop environmental ethics in the US, and soon thereafter, the same ethics were developed in other countries, including North America. Now we need to look at the two theories which help us to explain more about this environmental ethics. There are many of them, but let us just focus on anthropocentrism and ethnocentrism. In anthropocentrism, this is where the problem comes from, the problem towards the environment. It refers to a human-centered or anthropocentric point of view in philosophy. Anthropocentrism refers to the point where humans are the only or primary holders of moral standing. In anthropocentric view, value system that nature in terms of its value to humans. While such a view might be seen most clearly in advocacy for the sustainable use of natural resources, even arguments that advocate for the preservation of nature on the grounds that pure nature enhances the human spirit must also be seen as anthropocentric. Alternative, non-anthropocentric or anti-anthropocentric views include ecocentrism, biocentrism, and similar framings. The articles assembled here to look at the question of anthropocentrism from a variety point of view, proceeding from an investigation of the roots of modern anthropocentrism in the Western philosophy and religion, and looking at the implications of an anthropocentric thinking of the Darwinian revolution and the emergence of environmentalism. Questions of anthropocentrism and its alternatives emerge in part from the nature-culture divide, a fault line of Western philosophy and environmental thought. These categories differ significantly in other cultural settings, and discussions of anthropocentrism and its alternatives will take on a much different character outside the confines of Western thought. Let's look at theocentrism. In theocentrism is the belief that God is the central aspect to the existence, as opposed to anthropocentrism, monotheism, or existentialism. In this view, the meaning and value of actions done to people or the environment are attributed to God alone. Unlike in anthropocentrism, where human being is above, which has caused so much havoc to the environment. The tenets of theocentrism, such as 1. Humility, respect, moderation, selfishness, and mindfulness. These can lead themselves toward a form of environmentalism. In modern theology, theocentrism is often linked with stewardship and environmental ethics or creation care. It is the belief that human beings will look after the world as guardians, and therefore, in a way, God wants them to. Humans will be considerate to all, from animals to plants to humans themselves. It maintains that human beings are merely here for a short time and should be looking after the world for future generations. You may say, I don't care whatever is going to happen. Why should I take care of this world and so on? But remember, those who took care of the world after us, they made us to be where we are at this time. So we need to do our part to take care of what we have now in order to help those who will come after us.
Conclusion, to put all these branches together, we discussed ethics as a system of moral principles which connected us to African ethics, where we described human nature concerning satisfying social relations and attitudes that will bring or maintain about harmony in society, fulfilling the goal of ethics, whose aim is to bring about harmony in the society. And moral sentimentalism has its central thesis that our moral distinctions depends on our experiencing sentiment or feeling. We do not rely exclusively on the employment of reason to make our moral discernments. Sentimentalism is the state or quality of being sentiments, appealing or being moved by sensitive or tender emotion such as love, nostalgia, or pity. The basic idea of sentimentalism is that morality is rooted in emotions. We looked at deontology as a theory that is obligation-based. We found deontology more fitting in bringing about order and discipline in society towards our human responsibilities to ensure that harmony is achieved and the environment is protected as entrusted to us by God from the foundation of the world. Before man was nature existed. Deontology will promote more responsibility than likes. When every man fulfills his or her responsibility, we will arrive at the goal of ethics.
Be perfect as your Heavenly Father is perfect. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you especially Ms. Kimaza Cornell, for taking us through the course of ethics. I can say if I go outside in the world now, I will be able to act in an ethical way. That was one of the reasons as to why I wanted to study the course of ethics, and I can say I really achieved it. Thank you so much, Ms. Cornell, and thank you everyone. God bless us all.